A very good morning to you, and thanks for joining us on the News at 10 on NTA News 24, broadcast live on the network service of the NTA. I am Muslima Sholiver, and I'm with Claire this morning.
It's a pleasure, Muslima.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome. Let's get the headlines now.
Hope in the horizon for more jobs in Nigeria as federal government recommits to completing infrastructural projects.
Revenue-generating agencies again nudged to look beyond oil to grow the economy.
National Judicial Council recommends appointment of 22 judicial officers nationwide.
Lagos-based radio station gets NBC's hammer for unprofessional conduct.
More resources are to be allocated towards completing infrastructural projects across Nigeria, especially those being undertaken by local contractors and technology, as a deliberate attempt at sustaining the creation of jobs for Nigerians.
President Muhammadu Buhari stated this at the virtual inauguration of the new headquarters building of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board in Yenagoa, Bayelsa State.
And the president expressed the belief that provision of job opportunities and infrastructure that support businesses are essential means of addressing challenges of security. State House correspondent Adam Musambo has more.
The iconic 17-story building known as the Nigerian Content Tower, with the full complements of a 10-megawatt gas-powered power plant and 1,000-seater capacity conference center, was inaugurated by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timepre Silva, on behalf of the President. Addressing participants at the ceremony virtually, President Muhammadu Buhari said the completion of the project reflects his administration's infrastructural development drive towards attracting investment, creating jobs, and further enhancing efforts at lifting millions of Nigerians out of poverty.
With commissioning of this project, I want to highlight that we have put in place a landmark of reference in the Niger Delta to reflect long-lasting legacies that signpost the years of oil and gas exploitation, and I assure you that there is more to come. I must commend the Nigerian Content Board for the successes recorded in the last 10 years since its formation. The edifice is a befitting birthday gift as you mark your 10th year anniversary as a regulator and developer of local content in the oil and gas industry.
Describing local content as critical in all activities of Nigeria's national life, especially with the prevailing coronavirus pandemic, the President expressed the belief that production and patronage of goods and services locally are part of the surest ways to empower the citizens and give them viable opportunities to excel in their chosen professions and business endeavors.
Local content and self-reliance are the key principles of the recently approved 2.3 trillion Naira National Economic Sustainability Plan. The plan is aimed at the promotion of local production, local services, local innovation, and the use of local materials. It is imperative that we must produce what we eat and produce enough of our requirements and more for export. All these policy directives and programs are also meant to address some of the causative factors of insecurity.
Already, he said, 2 executive orders have been issued relating to enforcing local content in public procurement and contracts towards further replicating the successes being realized in the oil and gas sector. President Buhari congratulated the people of Bayelsa State for being the proud host of the landmark edifice in the heart of the Niger Delta. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And progress has been achieved towards reversing the United States suspension of the issuance of immigrant visas to Nigerian passport holders.
This is contained in the report of the Committee on Citizen Data Management and Harmonization submitted to President Muhammadu Buhari. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu again tells us more.
The committee, chaired by the Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, was set up in February this year to address issues that led to the U.S. temporary visa restrictions on Nigerian passport holders. The suspension does not, however, apply to other U.S. visas such as those for official, business, tourism, and student travel.
All the issues and concerns that led to the imposition of visa restriction by the United States of America have been reviewed and processes put in place or proposed to address them, sir. Out of 6 areas of concern raised by the USA, Nigeria had fully satisfied 2. 2 are substantially satisfied, while some progress have been made on the remaining 2.
The committee, amongst others, recommended the establishment of a National Identity Data Bank, National Criminal Information Management System, and a National Criminal DNA Laboratory to aid criminal investigation, administration of criminal justice, as well as sharing of relevant information. President Muhammadu Buhari, who commended the committee for its patriotic diligence in carrying out the assignment, assured Nigerians and the international community of the timely implementation of the committee's recommendations after due consideration. He noted with delight the progress made by Nigeria towards the removal of the visa restrictions already acknowledged by the United States government.
The implementation of these and other far-reaching recommendations as articulated in the report will fully address all outstanding issues that led to the visa restrictions. Government remains committed to sustaining the follow-up for the removal of the visa restrictions by the United States of America and developing a credible, harmonized national identity data management system.
The committee's recommendations, he explained, are capable of addressing the concerns raised by the U.S. government as well as lead to the development of a reliable national citizen identity data management system.
An effective citizen data management system is critical for socio-economic planning, improved service delivery, and good governance, as well as national and global security. It also has the overarching benefit of enhancing the integrity of the nation's citizens' identity instruments for the purpose of information sharing.
At a news briefing shortly after, Interior Minister Rauf Aregbesola announced that the harmonization of all existing data in the country must be completed by the end of June next year.
INEC should collaborate with NIMC and NOA to utilize the NIN in voters' validation exercises for upcoming elections and work towards ensuring that all eligible voters are issued NIN absolutely latest by 31st December 2022.
We are now working on blockchain technology, which will ensure 100% integrity and credibility of data, which is a part of our new emerging technologies. When that is enforced in place, then the issue of data manipulation, it will never happen, inshallah.
An implementation committee is soon to be constituted to further study the recommendations and develop a workable action plan in the best interest of Nigeria. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Now to some legal matters. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says technology and the innovations it entails has defined a new way of life and now fast-tracking the democratization of law and justice in Nigeria. The Vice President stated this at the Law Pavilion Technology Conference held virtually with the theme A New Paradigm in Justice Delivery. The Vice President says, though no one had predicted that a time will come when authorities will endorse virtual court proceedings, the disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic has necessitated the adoption of technology for all court processes. He implored lawyers and stakeholders in the justice sector to be prepared for the times ahead by finding alternative and better ways of delivering legal and associated services, as the next few years will see even more changes as artificial intelligence will play a bigger role in the court systems.
And traditional rulers from Anambra State in southeast Nigeria have noted President Muhammadu Buhari's genuine commitment to developmental issues, especially as it affects the southeast in particular.
And the monarchs led to the State House by Prince Otto Eze were received by the Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo tells you more about this.
The royal fathers described as fulfilling and reassuring that landmark projects like the second Niger Bridge project, hitherto presented as an impossible task by previous administrations, is now becoming a reality under President Buhari's keen watch. They also listed the Enugu-Onisha and Enugu-Port Harcourt expressways, amongst others, as critical infrastructure projects receiving government's desired attention. The people of the Southeast, Chief Otto Eze emphasized, never had it so good and are indeed grateful to the Buhari presidency. The delegation also lauded the president for appointing Igbo sons and daughters into key government positions, saying, as custodians of the heritage of the people, they felt it was incumbent on them to come and say thank you on behalf of everyone in the area. The Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, thanked the monarchs for the show of appreciation, describing the gesture as an incentive for President Muhammadu Buhari to do much more for the region and the country as a whole. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And in the meantime, the House of Representatives has tasked revenue-generating agencies to focus more on non-oil revenue, as the country is blessed with huge revenue sources apart from oil.
And Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, stated this at the commencement of a 5-day interactive session on the 2021-2023 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper in Abuja. National Assembly correspondent Vivian Idepefo reports.
The year 2020 came with unforeseen challenges occasioned by the effects of the coronavirus, which has forced governments across the world to review their economic development strategy. Nigeria witnessed a review of its 2020 budget with major adjustments to its expenditure and fiscal strategy, all geared towards keeping the economy on track. Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila noted these disruptions, which have necessitated governments borrowing to fund urgent development needs and interventions to help the most vulnerable. He lamented the consistent failure on the part of agencies to adhere to revenue remittance agreement, adding that the House will not relent in its constitutional duties.
The legislature remains the keeper of the public purse, with broad constitutional authority to act on behalf of the Nigerian people to ensure that our collective resources are efficiently administered in service of the public good.
The National Assembly will henceforth expect the Office of the Accountant General to deduct from the accounts of any defaulting MDA such revenues the agency owes the federal government.
Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Clem Agba, in his presentation, warned of the likelihood of the country lapsing into another recession in 4 years, owing to the impact of coronavirus, except a robust growth is achieved by the end of the third quarter of this year. Already, the federal government is working to manage the looming crisis.
Government is determined to act as may be required. Thus, key reforms will be implemented with increased vigor to improve revenue collection and expenditure management.
The minister added that the executive arm of government will work with the National Assembly to amend relevant laws to help with the Strategic Revenue Growth Initiative. From the National Assembly, Vivian Itekpefo, NTA News.
And the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission says it will be employing the geospatial data of Universal Basic Education Commission to help federal government make an evidence-based decision in its revenue sharing formula to all tiers of government.
And that was part of the decision reached at a meeting between the Chairman, Indices and Disbursement Committee of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, Dr. Chris Akomas, and the leadership of the Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC, in Abuja. Olushaya Adiagbo reports.
With a constitutional responsibility and core mandate of fashioning out a balanced and equal formula for revenue sharing across Nigeria's 3 tiers of government, the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission last year inaugurated an 18 standing committees that would come up with a new revenue sharing formula for the nation. The Indices and Disbursements Committee is one of the 18, and its members have been meeting with key actors that will help provide scientific-based data to enable the Commission to discharge its responsibility effectively.
Mr. Chairman, this is the report of the 2018 National Personnel Audit. Wow. Yes.
The latest of its engagement is with the Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC. For the UBEC Executive Secretary, Dr. Amit Boboye, the Commission's geospatial data covers all schools, both public and private, across the Federation, which was obtained in 2018. The Chairman of the Indices and Disbursements Committee, RMAFC, Dr. Chris Akomas, and other members were impressed with the information provided to them. The two leaders agreed to sustain the synergy.
It's a process. The process of reviewing the indices that is used by the nation for allocation of resources, especially revenue to the various tiers of government, is not something that anybody can toy with. So with this level of improvement under this, it means that what we are looking for, because our concern is to have credible data that when quoted, the integrity will stand.
I'm very happy to say that we have begun that movement where we are taking data as sacrosanct and making sure that we can really plan.
Of the resolution at the meeting include setting up a technical committee on the utilization of the data. In Abuja, Olusheye Adiagbo, NTA News.
This is the news at 10, reaching you on the network service of the NTA. Still ahead.
Witnesses in the trial of former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mohammed Adoke, testify.
There is a lot of fake news and report circulating, especially on social media, on the coronavirus. Do not believe or partake in the spread of these fake reports. If it is not on the official website or news from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, disregard such report. Only together can we beat this virus. Only together can we overcome this pandemic. Follow the instructions and guidelines provided to combat this virus. Most importantly, stay at home. Self-isolate, regardless of your status. The virus doesn't move unless we move. Let us work together to better Nigeria. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
It's good to have you join us again. Now let's bring you up to speed on business. The newly signed Companies and Allied Matters Act by the President has continued to elicit reactions among stakeholders. Chimobi Walton Namaji brings you a deeper perspective on business.
The much much-anticipated Companies and Allied Matters Bill that has passed through so many legislative scrutiny has finally been laid to rest with the signing of the bill into an act by President Muhammadu Buhari to give impetus to the implementation of the act. This is believed by industry key players to be a major landmark in ensuring transparency, ease of doing business, and proper assessment of the formal business environment in the country. The Director General, Corporate Affairs Commission (CAC), believes the Kama will regularize the unending irregularities in company ownership and management.
Another aspect of the reform deals with the issue of share capital. Under the repealed law, a company can have an authorized share capital, which means you can have some shares that you may decide not to issue. The repeal law provides that at least 25% of the shares must be issued. So, which means you can warehouse 75%. What this new law has provided is that all the shares must be issued at the point of registration. So the question of warehousing any share does not even arise. So companies don't need to have capital in their books if they don't have any need for those capital. They are at liberty to increase the share capital at any time. So you register and issue all the shares at the point of registration.
With business news, I'm Chimubi Walter Imagine.
Welcome back. Now, Justice Eyang Ekwo of the Federal High Court has directed that the court processes be made available to media houses covering the trial of former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mohammed Adoke, to ensure accurate reportage of the trial.
Justice Ekwo, who noted that the international community is watching the proceedings, said this at a trial of Adoke, who is facing money laundering charges referred against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Judiciary correspondent Vera Chiumba now brings the details.
Two prosecution witnesses testified before the court Thursday on the 300 million naira loan obtained from a bank by the former Attorney General and Minister of Justice. The other on the processes used by the Central Bank of Nigeria to determine the foreign exchange regime in the forex market. Rixlanuddin Mohammed, a prosecution witness and former acting managing director of Unity Bank, on the cross-examination by the defense counsel Awakalo SAN, told the court how Adoke obtained a loan of 300 million naira from the bank. He said the loan was finally liquidated when Adoke handed him $2.2 million, which he converted to naira in excess of the principal loan amount. Mohammed said Adoke collected the balance of 6 million naira interest that accrued from the sale and closed the account after the bank had deducted all necessary interest in the transaction. He further stated that the $2.2 million was not a proceed of crime, as it was for repayment of loan Adoke obtained from the bank. Led in evidence by the prosecution counsel Balasanga, a manager in charge of foreign exchange at the Central Bank of Nigeria, Clement Osagi, explained the modus operandi of the bank that determined the pegging of naira to a dollar. He tendered foreign exchange transaction rates covering August, September, and October 2013, which was admitted as exhibits. Justice Ian Ekwo warned journalists to stop linking the trial with Malabu oil deal. After listening to the submission of the parties, he directed that the processes of the court proceedings be made available to journalists, while they should also seek clarification on the trial.
Very, very happy that at long last, trial has commenced, and we hope, and you can see from the pace the court is taking, hopefully very soon, we will wrap up our case, and it's left for the defense to open theirs.
Well, so far it's okay that there is no problem anywhere. I mean, the evidence is quite okay.
Justice Ekwo is determined to give the case a expeditious trial. For that reason, the matter has been adjourned for 5 days, from 5th to 11th of September. In Abuja, Vera Chiumba, NTA News.
And we are still on legal matters. The National Judicial Council, under the chairmanship of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed, has considered the report of its investigation committee on allegations of misconduct made against Justice Obonaya of High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and issued a warning letter to him to follow its findings on the petition written against him by Dr. Oga Uchichukwu, that he refused to release a copy of judgment delivered to the petitioner within the constitutionally prescribed period of 7 days. In the same vein, Council also dismissed a petition written by Mrs. Nancy Ademujimi against Justice Sunday Olorundawunsi for want of merit. Council also considered the report of preliminary Complaints Assessment Committee on petitions written against 16 judicial officers for lacking in merit. In a statement by the Director of Information, Soji Oye, the Council considered the report of its interview committee and recommended 22 judicial officers as justices of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, heads of court, judges of the High Court of States, cadis of States Sharia Courts of Appeal, and judges of customary courts of appeal.
And the ministerial task team to fashion out a scientific audience measurement system to guide media advertising and advertisers in Nigeria has submitted its report to the Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed, with recommendations that are geared towards energizing the industry for improved revenue generation. Anthony Forson tells us more.
The 181-page report has far-reaching recommendations tied around 5 critical steps as the agenda, using television and radio as a starting point, while other media platforms will follow subsequently. Technology will also be used in setting minimum standards for all operators, as well as constituting a robust but manageable joint industry committee to ensure sustainability. Expressing satisfaction with the committee's performance, the Information and Culture Minister said he is convinced that the report will go a long way in assisting to solve audience measurement issues in the country.
It's no longer news that the absence of a world-class audience measurement system has resulted in underinvestment in the sector, and it has actually stunted its growth.
Restating the huge revenue being lost on account of inaccurate audience measurement system, the minister said Nigeria, with its huge population, generated a paltry $309 million against South Africa, whose population is put at 1/3 of Nigeria, generated $1.3 billion in 2016 alone.
Let me assure you that we will study the report and implement the recommendations, especially the 5-step agenda, with the same vigor and commitment that you have employed in putting it together.
To this end, the minister assured that the immediate task will be to assemble underperforming Nigerian TV and radio advertisers and mobilize them to raise their capacity, as they have the potentials of generating an additional $400 million within 3 years. Chairman of the committee, Garba Bello Kankarofi, who expressed gratitude for the honor to serve on the committee, said with the theme unleashing real value for all stakeholders in the Nigerian content ecosystem, they were able to understand reasons for underperformance and assured that with the right policies in place, the way forward is viable. Garba Bello Kankarofi expressed optimism that with the minister's desire to energize the advertising ecosystem, all players within the chain are in for a win-win situation. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
The news at 10 on NTA News 24 is reaching you on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We have more stories, including
federal government steps in to save jobs in Nigeria's aviation industry. Join us again.